Every so often, I get the great idea to start a new exercise regimen. I'm tired of whatever flab I got or feeling winded or something, so I decide now's the time. We're going to do it. It's probably coming up here in January. We'll see. And of course, anytime I set my mind to do this, I start out so well. I'm getting up early or doing it just before bed or whatever the case is. I do my exercises, my reps. I get on the treadmill. I take my walk. And I'm feeling pretty good for about a week, maybe 2. And then something happens. I don't know, the schedule is full that day and I can't do it, so I skip that day. Or, now the kids get up and I don't know, can't do it then. And then the next day I'm thinking, well, I'm kind of tired, so maybe I'll skip it today too. I'll get back to it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I've completely forgotten about whatever it was I was supposed to do. And now I'm back to whatever I was doing before I decided my exercise needed fixing. It's the same way with exercise. I do this with diets. It's about that time. The Halloween has come, and so all the candy is sitting on the counter. And I'm starting to feel it. I ate a lot of that candy, more than the girls did. Whenever I set my mind to one of these exercise regimens or diets, without fail, after a short while, I get weary of it. I get tired of it. With an exercise regimen, I am physically tired often and just can't quite get up to do it the next time. With any diet, I find myself tired of the salads or whatever else it might be. And I just really want, like a piece of bread and butter or a nice cookie that Amy has made, something like that. Anytime I set my mind to doing something with discipline, I eventually am weary and tired. And I find that to be true not just in the physical things and the way I take care of my physical body, but the way I take care of my spiritual self as well. I can set my mind to be disciplined in prayer in this new way, in this particular way, and, after about a week, well, something came up, and I couldn't do it that day, and I couldn't do it the next day. Or I am doing it, but something about it is making me weary and tired. And into this fact of life, I suppose, Paul tells us and the Thessalonians, do not grow weary. Do not grow weary in doing what is right. Well, easier said than done, Paul. How do we do that? He just says, don't grow weary. Like, okay, well, do you have any help? I think one way that we can address some of this and try to live up to what Paul is calling us to is to think why it is exactly that we do grow weary. Why it is that when we try to do right, we try to love our neighbors, to serve those around us, to make our way to times of prayer, both public and private, why is it that we grow weary and tired of doing these things? One reason, for me anyway, is that occasionally I get frustrated because I don't see any results. Nothing seems to change by what I'm doing. I'm doing what I think is right, and yet the person who has asked me for money comes back and hasn't changed their habits at all. I'm trying to set aside a particular sin that's besetting me, and here it comes again the next day. We can get weary that all of our efforts seem to be in vain, and nothing is changing. And we might grow weary by simple boredom or a lack of novelty. Our culture is so set on finding new and unique and fun ways of doing things that coming back to the same old is something that we don't really like doing. And so setting a discipline, say, of morning and evening prayer and saying the same sets of prayers every day can grow weary for us. It's not new. Or we might feel that when we are doing what is right, we are doing it all by ourselves. That we alone are the ones doing something about this need or this issue. That we alone are the ones sitting down to prayer, or more like we are sitting to prayer and God's not showing up. All of these together, and whatever other reasons you might think of, can make us weary in doing what we know to be right. Can make us tired in pursuing the good that we claim to be good. And so we must, however, overcome this weariness somehow. So Paul tells us, and so Jesus tells us at the end of our gospel today, it is by our endurance that we will gain our souls, by keeping at it. So how do we overcome this? When we have grown weary of body and soul, what shall we do? I think the first thing that we must do is place our faith once more and our trust in God and His ways. Trusting that God is indeed working things out for the good of those who love Him. If we do not see results, we can be encouraged by what Paul says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gives the growth. Or as I have kind of quippily stated, the parable of the sower, where a man goes out to sow his seed, and there's 4 different kinds that land in 4 different places, and only one of them makes it. And there's probably better takeaways from that parable, but what I've taken away lately of I should expect a 75% failure rate in just about everything that I do. We trust that God is the one bringing the growth, changing our hearts, and drawing the world back to Him. Our efforts are seen by God and are rewarded by God here and in the life to come. And like those in the Faith Hall of Fame in Hebrews, those great people of faith who went before Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David and all of them, they were seeking after something that they did not get to see, and yet they trusted God the same. So too with us, if we are growing weary that perhaps we are not seeing the results of our work that we thought we should, we must remember that God's time frame is not ours. And we have been called to serve and to do our part, little though it might be, and it might be something like planting, where a word spoken today does not bear fruit for years to come. And we might not even get to see it. But trusting that God is indeed the one working this out. And besides placing our faith in God, we must also work to find our rest in God and God alone. From the very beginning, the Scriptures tell us God had placed a day of rest in our week. 6 days He created all the heavens and the earth. And on the 7th day, seeing it was very good, He rested. Now, what does it mean for God to rest? Well, that's an interesting question, and I'm not going to go into it here. But at the very least, God is still active in the creation. At the very least, rest means to come to enjoy it. Scriptures say it was all very good. And God hallowed the day, the Sabbath day, made it holy, and enjoyed His creation. Came to be within it. And so in the Jewish tradition, they keep the Sabbath day from the evening, Friday evening to Saturday evening, and no work is done. And of course, a lot of rules get built up about what counts as work and what doesn't count as work. And Jesus refutes some of that extraneous traditions. but rest is to be part of the rhythm of our life. And I think, Christianly, we should be working against the common idea, what I find the common idea, that we are to be rested so that we can work better. You get your weekend from work so that you can come back on Monday and really, put your nose to the grindstone. In our secular world, rest is given to you so that you can produce more. But the way it seems to me that the Scriptures talk about rest is that we rather work so that we may rest. That what we are doing is so that we might, like God, enjoy the fruits of our labor, not just simply rest to prepare to do more labor. And in doing what is right, we work to do what is right so that we might enjoy God, who is our rest, more fully. Because it is through becoming more like his Son, through being more faithful and charitable and hopeful, that we come to enjoy God's presence more and more. When we continue doing what is right, we develop the habit and the lifestyle that can enjoy God more fully. And so if we find ourselves weary of doing what is right, weary of doing things that we seem to be doing alone, things we have seen no results for, things that have grown boring to us, let's take this time today to place our faith in God again, in his works and the way he is working things out, and to set aside the time to rest in the presence of God. Here, in our church, at our altar, through our prayers and praises, or at home, in our own times of prayer, of sitting with the one who is our life, the one who brings us rest. Because through our endurance we are given life. It is through our persistence in our faith to God that he comes to us. And it is through our changed lives that we will enjoy God both now and in the world to come. Amen.